Hey, what's up guys? It's Tasty Meat Chunks, and today we're going to be doing our first breakdown of a character in Marvel Rivals. I'm going to be starting out with a Vanguard, because if you know me back from my Overwatch TikTok days, I am a tank main. And what better character to start this out with than Doctor Strange? Doctor Strange is probably one of the strongest tanks out right now. Ridiculous carry potential, and a very versatile kit. I don't know if he is the best tank to solo carry games with, but he's definitely up there. So for starters, we're going to go in with a detailed breakdown of all the abilities that you have, the best ways to use these abilities, and what you should be looking out for as a tank yourself, with more advanced tips to help you play this character. We will also be talking about what characters he is strong into, what characters he is weak into, and how to get the most value from every one of these matchups. Now, the first thing that we need to know about Doctor Strange is that he can do an absolute insane amount of damage quickly, but he does have a bit of a range cap to him. Now, when we pair this character with Hulk, we can actually get even more damage out. But that being said, Hulk is not a great character, and while getting a bit of extra damage here and there is nice, it's not really necessary for Strange. Aside from our team-ups, we got a 650 HP tank. Not too good, but not too bad in terms of survivability on that front. But he does have an 800 HP shield with a pretty sizable range to it. And basically no cooldown, which means you can do things like shield hop, similar to Reinhardt in Overwatch. You can also use this to block CC options like Luna Snow's Snowball, or even a majority of ults in the game, but we'll get into that more later. The big sort of unique aspect of Strange is that no matter which abilities you use to inflict damage, they will charge up your Maelstrom of Madness, your E ability if you're using PC controls. Now, the problem with this is this basically forces you to play a lot closer than you really need to, because if you let this get out of control, you will be anti-healed, meaning that you will not be able to be healed until this goes away. But that's not really a problem, because you're going to want to be in close anyways to sort of animation cancel your shots with your whip, to just sort of maximize your damage output. The next biggest thing with Strange is that you want to sort of find a way to maximize your effective HP by sacrificing your own health to keep your shield health up, and sacrificing your shield health to keep your main health up. There should never be a time where your shield is broken and you are at full health, or you are on crit health with a full shield. An effective tank in this situation is going to use both of these health bars as a resource. Think of both of these as your health. If your shield runs out, you're dead. If your health runs out, you're dead. So if you can keep both of these relatively healthy, you're allowed to do a lot more of the fun stuff, like killing Luna Snow. This is also a good time to mention his fly ability. We'll talk a bit more about this when we go into character-specific breakdowns, but using his flight as a disengage tool when your health and shield are low is usually a pretty solid option. First rule of gaming is that gamers don't look up. So if you go up, they forget you were there. And aside from the really scary hit scan characters, a lot of characters in this game don't really have a good answer to getting Strange while he's in the air. So use this mainly defensively until we come back to this later in the video with some more proactive plays you can use with this flying ability that will really take your Strange gameplay to the next level. Now, it's also worth noting that there isn't really a crit marker for these shots, and also that these shots can basically track opponents a little bit. So getting that damage up is not going to be a problem. The other big thing you see with a lot of Strange players is not being sure what to do with these portals. While doing something like putting a portal in front of spawn and trying to launch the opponents off the map can be a fun time, in reality, going for these plays is kind of a waste of time. There are a lot of actually very useful uses you can use for these. Like, you can use them to basically make it impossible for opponents to leave spawn, use them to get some gross off angles on your opponents, or drop in for an ult.
By the eye of Agamotto!
Dude, I'm nuts.
Yeah,
I'm actually crazy. That was such a great portal.
Or to quickly get your team to a point they need to in overtime. As long as you're using the portal, there's basically not a downside to it. And it's also worth noting that when you swap to Strange in like overtime, you can use this portal on no cooldown, because you're gonna have it off rip.
Oh, well,
Killed Strange.
Don't worry, the reinforcements are here. Pull a
Let's
fucking
go.
Avengers Endgame with Luna Snow. So in that context, Strange, aside from maybe Venom, is probably the fastest tank at getting back the points when he has access to his portal. Now, as far as specific settings that you need to set on Strange, there really are none. There's really no hero-specific settings that you need to worry about. But now that we've gone through the basics on how to just physically play Strange, what you need to know, let's talk a little bit about what you need to look out for on Strange and how to maximize your play on Strange. Strange is a bit of a poke brawl hybrid. This means that he excels at medium range, but also close range. At medium range, your passive is going to be a bit of a problem because you have a big cooldown with your E, your Maelstrom of Madness, that you don't really want to waste just sort of to keep yourself from being antied. Sometimes in the poke phase where both teams are standing at a distance just shooting at each other, it can be worth it to just tank that anti-heal so that you don't waste your Maelstrom, because that burst damage up close is much more important than the effective health of your health bar, assuming you're balancing it well with your shield health also. Because of how much damage Doctor Strange can put out, he is a pretty serious threat to any isolated 1v1. Duelist, Vanguard, or Strategist. If someone gets close to him and he has the backing of his team, or just a solid health bar, he usually can 1v1. The big ones you want to look out for are Luna Snow and Mantis. If they can hit you with a CC, you're done. But you have a shield which allows you to deal with them pretty easily if you know what the animations look like and can time it well. Other big characters to look out for: any melee character, specifically characters like Iron Fist, Spider-Man, Thor, and Wolverine can be serious threats because they either can displace you like Thor and Wolverine, or because their hits go through your shield like Spider-Man and Iron Fist. This can catch you lacking if you are not ready to play around it, and can be quite dangerous. That was the most Overwatch shit I've ever seen.
Yeah.
For characters that he excels into, a lot of the hit scans in this game, specifically characters like Punisher, Hela, Hawkeye is projectile, but I'm still counting him for this, Black Widow, Namor, most characters that want to sort of stay at range and spam are going to have a tougher time into Strange. But they also pair very well with Strange, which is part of the reason why he is so dominant right now, because a character like Hela is dominant right now. Another set of characters you might want to keep an eye on are characters like Moon Knight and Squirrel Girl, even to an extent Iron Man, even though he's kind of awful, just because of the amount of spam they can put out. But if you have good shield health bar management, that spam is getting eaten up just like everything else, because this character is kind of broken right now. As far as strategist pairings to make him do the best, I don't really think there are bad strategists to pair with a competent Strange player. Jeff's speed boost bubbles can be really solid in helping you close that distance, and Mantis's damage boost can let you do ridiculous damage. But he doesn't really need the Luna Snow pocket at all times, or Loki clones on him the whole game. He's a pretty self-reliant tank, he just needs the occasional healing top off, if you are playing him well and holding space. He can also be played in the backline to help deal with things like flankers or dive characters, and this brings us to some tips about his ultimate. Strange ult is really good at doing a lot of things, but on its own, it's not that great of an ultimate. It can be CC'd out, it can be blocked by shields, and it doesn't affect enemies that have the unstoppable perk, meaning when they have the yellow health bar. So while it can be very valuable to use this ability for an aggressive play, something like portaling into their backline and ulting their whole team, it's also worth noting that it's a very solid ultimate to be used in defensive situations as well. Some big ults that come to mind are whenever a Penny is trying to ult into your backline, or a Captain America, whenever there is a big rocket ult, or near the end of the big defensive ults like Mantis or Luna Snow, so that your team can kind of clean up picks the second that the ult ends. But we can't just do that in terms of ult denial abilities, because we also have access to Doctor Strange's Fly. Flying up with your shield to block ultimates is one of the strongest things you can do on Strange. The main two that come to mind are Iron Man and Hela ults, but this is also pretty applicable with characters like Star-Lord, and I could even see a case for you using it against something like a Bucky ultimate. Just flying up and getting in their face with a full shield is a really good way to take out an entire ultimate for only the sacrifice of some of your shield health. And in this case, it is usually worth it to sacrifice a full shield to break an ultimate, but if you can, wiggle in just face tanking some of those hits yourself. A good rule of thumb is once the fight feels like it's starting to stagnate and ults could be on the field, assume that ults are on the field and save shield health as well as your fly if you see a character like Hela on the field. I should say when, Hela is in every game. This is also probably a good time to point out that I do not think there are bad tanks to pair Strange with. He can work as a great anchor to the backline to support more dive characters like Venom or Hulk. I would not recommend the Hulk pairing, mostly because I don't think Hulk is that good. But if you already have one, hey, Strange is even better. He can support characters like Thor when they want to get up close and personal and brawl with his massive shield. He can hold down the fort with a character like Penny and use his shield to help make sure she keeps her mines and her spider nest up as much as possible. And he pairs exceptionally well with Magneto to sort of get access to a sort of double shield meta in this game to really shut down those long-range hit scan characters. Make sure that any time that a Magneto has their shield up, your shield is down on Strange, because your shield has more uptime, his shield has more mitigation. And he can even Fortnite box people with Groot and his ultimate chains to do a just absolutely insane amount of damage and never die. Strange is hands down one of the best Vanguards in the game. You can use him on basically any map, with basically any team comp. Solo tank, one of 3 tanks, 1 support, 3 supports. You basically can't go wrong with Strange. I would also recommend that just about every player of this game learns how to play Strange, because while he is very easy to learn, there's also a lot of room for some big brain plays, and everyone needs to know at least 1 tank to play. So if you're gonna learn 1 tank, I'd recommend Strange. Comment down below with what character you want me to break down next. I'm leaning towards Magneto, and we'll probably be on break for a couple weeks after this video goes up, because I will be traveling. Maybe we'll have time to finish some videos, but probably not. So I will see you all in the new year.